Okay.
And secondly, what problems, if any, does America have with China's investment in Jamaica?
The US is tightening its grip on the Caribbean, and Jamaica is caught in the crossfire. Is this about crime and security, or is it really a power move against China and Cuba? By the end of this video, you will uncover the explosive geopolitical maneuvers involving the US, Jamaica, Haiti, and China that are reshaping the Caribbean landscape. Stay tuned as we unravel the drama behind Marco Rubio's shocking warning and the ensuing US crackdown. Do you think Jamaica should side with the US or keep doing business with China? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Caribbean political theater, where the sun is hot, the beaches are inviting, and the geopolitics are sizzling. Our main act features US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who recently graced Jamaica with his presence, leaving a trail of headlines and raised eyebrows. First on the agenda, US travel advisories against Jamaica. Rubio, in a moment of diplomatic generosity, pledged to review these advisories to ensure they accurately reflect Jamaica's current security landscape. This comes after Jamaican officials expressed concerns that the existing warnings were more alarmist than a reggae sound clash. With Jamaica's notable reduction in crime rates, it's high time the advisory got a reality check. So basically, the travel advisory where the US have against Jamaica is outdated. Yeah, the data they need to be updated. Yeah man, take it down, come down now. Yeah. Our Prime Minister is doing a good job with fighting crime since 2024, entering into 2025. Is a good job. Me have to give me props and in thumbs up. Me tell you so when they do good, me always all credit them. Uno can't take that from him. The man a fight crime. Labor right done no safe, PMP done no safe. It's the first time in history that criminals are actually living in fear of being unalive by the security forces. Normally, we the decent law-abiding citizen are live in fear because of crime and criminality. And Marco Rubio, you don't need to worry about your citizens. White people can go anywhere in a Jamaica anytime. Nobody now do them nothing. Trust me, they safe more than the locals them will live on Jamaica. But wait, there's more. Enter the Cuban medical missions, a lifeline for Jamaica's healthcare system. With over 400 Cuban medical professionals serving on the island, the US, however, views these missions as Cuba's version of a labor export program, alleging forced labor practices. Rubio announced expanded visa restrictions targeting individuals linked to this program, putting countries like Jamaica in a diplomatic tightrope walk. But how does China fit into this intricate Caribbean puzzle? Stay with us as we explore the dragon's dance in the region and its implications for US Caribbean relations. Is Marco Rubio looking out for Jamaica, or is this just another power play? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. As if the US-Cuba-Jamaica triangle wasn't complex enough, let's sprinkle some Chinese seasoning into the mix. Jamaica has been cozying up to China, welcoming investments like the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, a 4-lane marvel linking Clarendon to Manchester. Prime Minister Andrew Holness champions this relationship as mutually beneficial, emphasizing that Jamaica's debt to China is a mere 4.5% of its total debt portfolio. So no debt trap diplomacy is taking place or has ever taken place. It's a lie, it's a myth. I debunked this said propaganda where the US has spread upon China in an older video. However, not everyone is singing Kumbaya. The US has been side-eyeing saying China's growing influence in the Caribbean, concerned about potential debt traps and geopolitical chess moves. Rubio's visits underscored these tensions as he balanced promises of reassessing travel advisories with subtle warnings about foreign entanglements. But what does this geopolitical tango means for Haiti and the broader Caribbean region? The plot thickens as we delve into the ramifications of these power plays. China versus the US in Jamaica. Who really has the island's best interests at heart? Debate in the comments. In the grand tapestry of Caribbean geopolitics, Haiti remains a focal point of concern. Rubio's Caribbean tour included discussions on stabilizing Haiti's security situation and addressing its political and humanitarian challenges. The US aims to collaborate with regional partners to bring peace and stability to the beleaguered nation. Meanwhile, Caribbean leaders are not taking US policies lying down. They've dismissed accusations of labor exploitation within Cuban medical missions, emphasizing the critical role these professionals play in their healthcare system. Prime Ministers like Dr. Ralph Gonzalez of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have even offered to surrender their US visas rather than compromise on this issue. As the Caribbean finds itself at the crossroads of global power dynamics, nations like Jamaica must navigate these turbulent waters with diplomacy, strategic alliances, and a dash of island resilience. The interplay between US policies, Chinese investments, and regional cooperation will undoubtedly reshape the future of the Caribbean landscape. Do these US warnings sound like a genuine concern or a hidden threat? Type genuine or threat below. Here's a summary of the highlights and the key points. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Jamaica, pledging to review travel advisories and addressing concerns over Cuban medical missions. The US expanded visa restrictions targeting individuals linked to Cuba's labor export programs, affecting Caribbean nations employing Cuban medical personnel. Jamaica continues to embrace Chinese investments, with Prime Minister Holness defending the relationship as mutually beneficial and highlighting minimal debt exposure. Caribbean leaders collectively oppose US claims of labor exploitation in Cuban medical missions, emphasizing their importance to regional healthcare. If you found this deep dive into Caribbean geopolitics enlightening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you see these international dynamics playing out in the Caribbean? Stay tuned for more insights and analysis on the ever-evolving global stage. If you were running Jamaica, how would you handle this situation? Let's hear those presidential strategies in the comments. So even though we see them issue travel advisory against Jamaica, the US lets citizens travel to Miami. And if you know anything about Miami, where the crime rate is actually higher than some Caribbean countries. So why the special warning or travel advisory for Jamaica? An outdated travel advisory that needs to be updated with the current numbers and crime stats in Jamaica. So it reflects reflects more accurately, but a travel advisory no have nothing to do with that. So let's break it down even further. You see me? Yeah man, a geopolitical deeper analysis. Well, let's talk about Marco Rubio, Jamaica, and China, because that's where things get interesting. This travel warning is not about crime, it's about control. The geopolitical chess game, the real reason behind the US crackdown. See, this isn't just about Cuba's medical program. This is about a bigger geopolitical battle playing out in the Caribbean. And guess who just flew into Jamaica? Florida's Senator Marco Rubio. And when Rubio shows up, it's never just a casual visit. Here's what's really happening. 1. China's growing grip on the Caribbean. China is investing billions in Caribbean infrastructure. Jamaica, Trinidad, and even Haiti are receiving Chinese money. China is building highways, ports, and energy projects. The US hates this because China is gaining economic influence. 2. Marco Rubio's mission in Jamaica. Rubio has been one of the loudest anti-China voices in the US government. He warned Jamaica about taking Chinese loans. He's now pushing for more US influence in the region. And guess what? Haiti is also on his radar. 3. US travel advisory is a power move. The US is using travel warnings as a political tool to destabilize economies. If American tourists stop visiting, Jamaica's economy gets hit hard. It's a warning shot. Stay in line or face consequences. What better way to rattle a government than a travel advisory? It sends foreign investors running, disrupts tourism revenue, and forces Jamaica's government to play defense instead of strengthening regional alliances. That's how powerful of a geopolitical tool a travel advisory is in the hands of the US. Don't play with them, cause this is not a game. So what does this all mean? It means the US is putting the Caribbean on notice. They are watching China, they are watching Cuba, and they are watching who Jamaica and Haiti do business with. It's that simple. Yeah, pay attention, make sure now listen keenly. And it's not just warnings. Could sanctions be next? The US just made their first move, but how will the Caribbean respond? The big picture, what happens next? Alright, let's bring this all together. This isn't just about Cuban doctors or travel advisories. This is about the US trying to stop China's growing influence in the Caribbean. And Marco Rubio's visit to Jamaica, that's a warning shot, because the minute the US feels like it's losing control, it does what it always does. Economic pressure, political influence, and strategic warnings. So what's next? Could Jamaica or Haiti be next on the US watch list? Will China respond with even more investments? Is the Caribbean becoming the next battleground for US-China tensions? Drop a comment. Do you think the US is right to be concerned? Or is this just another case of big country bullying small country? Jamaica not singled out in row over Cuban doctors, said Rubio. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Jamaica has not been singled out as a country regarding problems with the Cuban medical mission. He says the matter did form part of bilateral talks with Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The US government announced recently that it was expanding an existing Cuba-related visa restriction policy that targets forced labor. Secretary Rubio Rubio says they intend to have further talks with Jamaica to see how the medical mission operates on the island. So let's hear what Secretary Rubio has to say in his own words.
The first thing is to separate the medical from the labor issues that we are pointing to. Okay, this is not about doctors. This is not about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. We have a problem, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica. We've discussed this today about, following international labor standards and the like, but I'm just talking about this program in general, how it's operated around the world. And how it's operated around the world is that basically the doctors are not paid. In many other parts of the world, the doctors are not paid. You pay the Cuban government. The Cuban government decides how much of anything to give them. They take away their passports. They basically operate as forced labor in many places. There are places that have better labor standards. Perhaps Jamaica is one of those, and that's fine. But I'm describing generally what the program has been. It has operated in that way in many parts of the world and placed these people in tremendous danger. And so I think we can all agree that the trafficking in labor, be they doctors or farm workers, is not something that we would want to be supportive of. And we find that to be an egregious practice on the part of the Cuban regime. Now, every country operates their program differently. And obviously, because of our relationship with Jamaica, we're going to engage with them on that and talk about it further and have a better understanding. Perhaps none of this applies in the way it's handled here. But generally, that's the problem with the program. It's not that they're Cuban doctors. It's that the regime does not pay these doctors, takes away their passports, and basically it is, in many ways, forced labor. And that we cannot be in support of. Again, not speaking about here in particular, but in general about the program.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, during his visit to Jamaica, outlined several opportunities for collaboration in trade, national security, and foreign aid that could benefit the country.
We did talk about tourism because obviously it's a significant part of your economy, and we pledged we were going to go back and reevaluate the travel advisories as they currently stand to ensure that they do reflect the reality of the new numbers and what the numbers show. Our conversations that lead back to my time in the United States Senate, how many of the guns and the weapons that are being used by gangs to commit acts of violence here in Jamaica are purchased in the United States and then shipped here? And we want to commit to doing more to stopping that flow at the same time as we do more to commit to increasing your capacity. That's the other thing I underline. What we're talking about here when we talk about American assistance is America helping Jamaica build its own capacity, its own ability to confront these challenges and solve these problems, because security is a baseline for everything. To that end, we have some good things to announce today here. The Jolt Fusion Center that is starting up again, and that's been even further strengthened. That's going to help address lottery scamming. We can announce synthetics detection equipment for Jamaica's forensic labs. Another counter-gang recruitment program that we seek to launch as a result of our visit here today. You've made very impressive progress in your general numbers overall when it comes to the murder rate and so forth, but in particular, with those travel advisories are designed to American travelers. And I think we need to analyze that and just ensure that the status we're currently in accurately reflects the status quo and takes into account the progress you've already made this year and made last year, year over year, which I think is one of the highest numbers in terms of reductions that we've seen of any country in the region.
Jamaica remains open to investments from China. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says Jamaica remains open to foreign investments from China despite ongoing tension between the Asian giant and the United States. Minister Johnson-Smith says Jamaica operates as a free market economy and has consistently maintained this stance regardless of geopolitical power struggles. The United States and China have long been at odds, with tensions escalating since Donald Trump's return to the White House. Trump has issued renewed threats toward China and other nations, further straining relations between the two economic giants. So let's hear what the foreign minister has to say in her own words.
We have a strong governance system, and come who may, and they have recognized this. So we're able to have a moderate conversation about it. The fact is that where our reforms have allowed us to be a stronger and better partner in the region, that has its own value as well. And it doesn't mean that we won't have challenges down the line. It doesn't mean that at all. But we are clear on our position. We know know that we are well-reasoned in the approach that we take. We're transparent and structured, and in some ways that's seen as a model. This is not new. This occurred under the first Trump administration as well, and we have come out quite fine. We have good, strong partnerships that exist within a framework. We've been able to recognize that Jamaica is not overly indebted. You would have heard the Secretary speaking about his concern about indebtedness, countries falling into a debt trap. We have no debt trap. We have a strong partnership with China, especially nowadays in respect of our infrastructure development, where the contracts that go to Chinese companies are the subject of public procurement processes. They are transparent. Other investors could come in. So in the same way that we're open for investment from China, we are open to investment from the US, the UK, Canada. We are open.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has declared that no exploitation exists within the Cuba medical mission in Jamaica. He says it complies with all international laws and standards. So make we hear what PM Holness has to say in response to the US about the Cuban medical program, because finally Jamaica's Prime Minister has actually cleared the air. And I actually like the stance where Andrew Holness take on the Cuban medical program. I like when he say.
Let us be clear, the Cuban doctors in Jamaica have been incredibly helpful to us. Jamaica has a deficit in health personnel, primarily because many of our health personnel have migrated to other countries. We are, however, very careful not to exploit the Cuban doctors who are here. We ensure that they are treated within our labor laws and benefit like any other worker. So any characterization of the program by others certainly would not be applicable to Jamaica. We are ensuring that our program complies with all the international laws and standards to which we are a party to.
Thank you. Secretary Rubio, given changes to U.S. immigration policies, there are some Jamaicans who are afraid to travel back to Jamaica, even though they are legitimate green card holders. What assurances can you give to those individuals that they will have no difficulty returning to the United States?
Well, yeah, well, green card,
very quickly,
green card
sir.
or residency? I mean, permanent residence. You're asking me about? Yes.
Permanent,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And secondly, what problems, if any, does America have with China's investment in Jamaica?
Well, look, I mean, China's a rich and powerful country. Our problem with it is not investment. Okay, our problem is predatory practices. That's what we're concerned about. What we have seen all over the world is that China comes in and says, here's a bunch of money for a project they never build. They bring their own workers to do the work. They don't hire the locals, they bring their own workers. And oftentimes it comes attached with a huge loan that can never be repaid, and now they hold it over your head forever. That's our concern. Our concern is unfair practices too, where they come in, they're government subsidized companies, underbid everybody because they're subsidized, but then they come back and charge you whatever they want because now they've got the contract. So these are the things that we remain very concerned about. Again, not specifically about Jamaica, but in general. And so that's what we'll continue to highlight. On the first point, I would say, let me talk about that. If you're a green card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. You're a green card holder, you are legally in the United States. What the president has said, and I don't know how anybody can disagree with this, every country in the world has immigration laws. And immigration laws, if you don't enforce them, you don't have immigration laws. Over the last few years, we've had, 13, 14, 15 million people enter the United States unlawfully and irregularly. No country in the world can assume that. By the way, that's not unique to us, right? Even here in Jamaica, you've faced challenges of migration. And it's not that we don't sympathize with people that are leaving difficult circumstances, it's that no society can absorb mass migration from anywhere in the world. You just can't do it. And we're facing that challenge. That's not specific to Jamaica, I'm just speaking in general. And so the president is doing something that frankly hasn't been done in a long time. He's enforcing our immigration laws. And that's what we're doing. So if you're a green card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. I think the challenge is for those who are illegally in the United States, we have to have immigration laws. They have to be followed. I mean, I don't know why that's an unreasonable demand. And frankly, I mean, Jamaica is not a major source of illegal migration, to be frank. It's not even in the top 10 or top 20, for that matter, I don't think. But that said, we are enforcing our immigration laws, because here's what happens if you don't. You'll get another 12 million people. And if tomorrow Jamaica announced anybody who wants to come can come in, you're going to get a lot of people too, and you know it's going to be very disruptive. So we need to have immigration laws, and we need to enforce them, and that's what we are. That's what the president is doing. That's what he promised voters he would do, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But if you're a green card holder, you're legally in the United States, unless, and I say this because a lot of these people come, unless you're some student visa holder who's a sympathizer of some terrorist organization and is running around in our streets like a lunatic, burning down buildings and attacking students at universities. If you're one of these lunatics that's going to put on a mask over your face and break into a student union center and harass students, and we wouldn't have let you in the first place. If you had told us that, if you told us, I'm going to America not just to study at your university, but to tear up your campus, we would have never let you in. And if you do that, once you come into the United States, we're going to kick you out. We're going to do that. And I don't care what terrorist organization is supporting, we're going to kick you out. If you're a gang member, we're going to kick you out. Okay? If you're one of these violent gang members that's coming to the United States, then we're going to kick you out. That we're going to do. There's no doubt about it. But the president's very committed to that. And but if you're a green card holder and you're not any of these things, you're going to be fine.